Yeah, good day again to everyone. So this is the last part or the part three of our lecture series on the selected topics in criminal law book two. So maybe some of our viewers are wondering why is it called selected topics in criminal law book two? Uh, Purposely, this lecture series is uh, for the benefit of my students in Ordinata City University College of Criminology, specifically the third year students enrolled in Criminal Law Book 2. So that's why these are selected topics only. But maybe this topic or this lecture series will also be a good or will also benefit other students enrolled in the course of criminology, and it will also benefit my students enrolled in Lyceum Northwestern University, Ordineta campus, and it would also be a great help to my cadets in the Philippine Military Academy in their future studies. All right. So without further ado, let's proceed to our topic. Okay, so Article 293 or robbery in general, let's take a look at its elements. Number one, that there be personal property belonging to another. Number two, that there is unlawful taking on that property. Number three, that the taking must be with intent to gain. And number that there is violence against or intimidation of any person or force upon anything. So class, if we will differentiate theft and robbery, theft does not have the element or does not have element number four, which is there is the employment of violence, intimidation, or force upon things. So that is the only difference between the two crimes. So in theft, it is just a plain taking of personal property belonging to another. And yes, there is an unlawful taking of that property, and the taking is with intent to gain. However, in theft, there is no violence employed or intimidation to any person, or there is no force employed upon anything. Take note, class, that robbery is the taking of personal property belonging to another with intent to gain by means of violence or intimidation of any person or using force upon anything. So, one example of a robbery class is hold up, di ba? Pag hinold up mo ang isang tao, ano bang gagawin mo pag hold upin mo? Usually, tututukan mo ng kutsilyo, tatakutin mo, tututukan mo ng baril, na pag hindi niya binigay ang hinihiling mong, for example, you are asking for his wallet or his bag or her bag. Then, ginamitan mo ng kutsilyo, tinutukan mo ng kutsilyo o kaya tinutukan mo ng baril. Okay? So, pag hindi niya binigay, sinabi mo is papatayin mo siya or sasaktan mo siya. That is robbery. Why? Because there is intimidation upon the person of that, uh, yes, upon on the victim. Next example, for example, yung mga akyat bahay, no? Yung mga akyat bahay, pag meron silang nanakawang bahay, usually they broke into the window o kaya sisirain nila yung mga doorknob o yung lock ng mga bintana para lamang makapasok sila. That is robbery. Why? Because there is force upon the thing or anything. Plus, there are two kinds of robbery. First is robbery with violence or intimidation. Number two, robbery with force upon things. So class, remember that the thing must belong to another, no? Dapat yung yung bagay na yun ay pag-aari ng iba. So person from whom property was taken need not be the owner. Legal possession is sufficient. For example, nanghiram ka ng cellphone, hiniram mo yung cellphone ng kaibigan mo. Sabi mo, pero ka lang importanteng tatawagan. Then along the way, no, bigla kang hinold up. Hinold up o kaya hinablot yung bag mo na nandun yung hiniram mong cellphone, no? Hindi man sa'yo yung cellphone, pero you have the legal possession, no? So that is still robbery. Okay. Okay. So the property must be personal property and cannot refer to real property. Okay, so ano ba kasi pinagkaiba ng personal property sa real property? Real property, these are consist of lands, buildings, no, yung mga naka-attach sa lupa. Those are real property. Pag personal property, usually yan yung mga nahahawakan nyo, nabubuhat ninyo like cellphones, mga gadgets, kotse, no, mga sakyan. Those are considered as personal property. So if you took my cell phone without my consent and you employed force, you intimidated me, that is robbery. Okay? So the name of the real owner is not essential, so long as the personal property taken does not belong to the accused, except if the crime is robbery with homicide. Yan sabi rito, class, hindi importante kung kanino nakapangalan ang isang property. For example, yung sakyan na nabili mo, hindi pa nakapangalan sa'yo. So, yung sa ORCR, di ba, hindi pa nakapangalan sa'yo. So, binili mo yon, sa'yo, ikaw nung gumagamit ng sasakyan, ah, bigla na lang ninakaw, bigla na lang nakarnap. Okay? Nakarnap siya, ah, then, kahit na hindi nakapangalan sa'yo yung property na yon, it is still considered as theft or carnapping, no? Kahit na hindi mahalaga kung hindi pa nakapangalan sa iyo yung property. The owner of the property must be held liable for robbery where he forcibly takes the property from the possession of the bailee with intent to charge the latter with its value. So, for example, meron sa'yong nagsanla. Okay, so nagsanla sa'yo ng isang property o kaya nagsanla sa'yo ng sinanla niya yung cellphone niya, no? Isinanla niya yung cellphone niya sa'yo, yung iPhone, yung bagong iPhone o kaya laptop. Then, ikaw na nagsanla, binigay mo yung cellphone sa kanya, tapos binigyan ka niya ng pera, sabihin natin na 10,000, no? Tapos, ikaw na nagsanla, you forcibly took the property, no? Kinuha forcibly yung property, yung isinanla mong cellphone doon sa isang tao, no? You took that forcibly. That is considered as robbery also under the case of US versus Albao. So in the absence of any explanation as to how one has come into possession of stolen effects belonging to a person wounded and treacherously killed, the possessor must necessarily be considered the author of the aggression and death of the victim as well as of the robbery committed. Okay, for example, hindi mo maipaliwanag, no? Hindi mo maipaliwanag kung paano napunta sa iyo yung isang bagay, no? Hindi mo maipaliwanag kung paano napunta sa iyo ang isang bagay na alam mong nakaw, no? Are considered as the author of the robbery, no? Pag may kasamang patayan, then you are also the author of the aggression and death of the victim. Suppose the property is res nullius. Pag sinabing res nullius, class, is walang nagmamay-ari, no? Walang nagmamay-ari doon sa property. Okay. The crime of robbery or theft cannot be committed, no? Pag alam mo walang nagmamay-ari doon sa isang bagay na 'yon, no? Are you liable for theft pag kinuha mo 'yon? So, ang sabi rito, class, the crime of robbery or theft cannot be committed if the property is without an owner, no? For the simple reason that no one can be prejudiced by the taking of the personal property, even though the intent to gain is present in the taking. Okay, for example, meron kang nakita sa ilog, no? Meron kang nakita sa ilog, no? Meron kang nakitang mga magagandang graba, mga magagandang bato. Nakita mo 'yon, ah, wala namang nagmamay-ari dun sa ilog na 'yon. So, dinadaanan 'yon ng tubig, no? Dinadaanan ng irigasyon 'yan. So, may nakita kang magandang, mga bato, mga graba. Kinuha mo 'yon, sabi mo, ilalagay mo sa aquarium mo kasi may aquarium ka sa bahay, no? So, you are not committing any crime, no? Kasi nga, yung mga bato, yung mga graba na nandoon sa tabing ilog ay wala namang nagmamay-ari. That's why, you are not liable for theft or robbery. So the taking of personal property must be unlawful. So if given in trust, hindi siya robbery or theft, it is estafa. Okay, so hiniram ko for example yung cellphone mo. Okay, hiramin ko ha, sabi ko. Okay, ngayon, sabi ko babalik ko sa ito next week. Yung for example, cellphone or laptop. Oh, sige, laptop na lang. Okay. Hiramin ko yung laptop mo, gagamitin ko, balik ko after 1 week, sabi ko. Okay, so after 1 week, after 7 days, kinukuha mo na yung laptop. Hindi ko binabalik, no? Hindi ko na binabalik. Hindi mo na ako matawagan, hindi mo na ako makontak. Anong kaso ifa-file mo sa akin? Okay, usually, ifa-file mo sa akin is not theft or it's not robbery. Bakit? Kasi yung binigay mo, yung kinuha ko yung laptop mo, no, that it is lawful kasi pinahiram mo sa akin, no, pinahiram mo. So, ang kaso pwede mo lang i-file sa akin is estafa. Okay? Kasi nga, uh, you gave that property in trust, no? In trust na may tiwala ka na ibabalik ko yung property na hiniram ko. Okay? I hope class, malinaw sa inyo yon. Okay, so let's proceed to Article 294, violence, robbery with violence against or intimidation of person. So the acts punish as robbery with violence against or intimidation of persons by reason or on occasion of the robbery. So the following must be committed. Number 1, homicide. Number 2, robbery accompanied with rape or intentional mutilation, serious physical injuries which resulted to the insanity, imbecility, impotency, or blindness of the victim, serious physical injuries which are also resulted to the loss of the use of speech, hear, smell, eye, hand, foot, etc. Violence or intimidation shall have been carried to a degree clearly unnecessary for the crime or when in the course of its execution serious physical injuries, deformity, or shall have lost any part of the body or the use thereof, or shall have been ill or incapacitated for the performance of the work, or any kind of robbery with less serious physical injuries or slight physical injuries. Ito klase example ng robbery with violence or intimidation against any person. Next, theft. Okay, so ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, na dinifferentiate na natin kanina ang theft sa robbery. So theft, under Article 308, let's take a look at its elements. Number 1, that there be taking of personal property. Number 2, that said property belongs to another. Number 3, that the taking be done with intent to gain. Number 4, that the taking be done without the consent of the owner. And number 5, that the taking be accomplished without the use of violence against or intimidation of person or force upon things. So who are the persons liable? So those who with intent to gain. Okay. Letter B. Without violence against or intimidation of persons nor force upon things. So yung sinabi ko kanina class na difference ng dalawa, ang pinagkaiba ng class is sa theft, there is no violence against or intimidation of person, nor force upon thing. While in robbery, merong violence, may intimidation, at merong force upon things. Okay, for example, si Pedro nakita niya, yung sales lady may busy sa isang customer, no? Nung nakatalikod yung sales lady, kinuha ni Pedro yung naka-display na cellphone or tablet doon sa kiosk. Class, that is theft. Bakit? Because Pedro did not intimidate any person. He did not employ violence to any person. He did not even employ force to any object. No? So, pinulot niya lang, kinuha niya lang. Okay? So, that is theft. Letter C, taking of personal property of another. Letter D, without the latter's consent. Kasi class, kung with the consent of another person yan, oh, Pedro, oh, kunin mo itong cellphone ko, kunin mo itong tablet ko, kunin mo itong cellphone ko, hiramin mo, gamitin mo lang. That is with the latter's consent. Okay, so alam na may-ari, no, kung saan napunta yung kanyang cellphone. So, the taking from an enclosed corral of a carabao belonging to another, after force is employed to destroy a part of the corral to enter the same, is considered merely as theft because corral is not a building nor a dependency of a building. Okay, so meron tayo plus pangalawang uri kung paano nakukumit ang theft. Number 2, those who having found lost property and he failed to deliver the same to the local authorities or its owner. Okay, si Pedro, while walking sa vicinity ng UCU, okay, meron siyang napulot na wallet. O sabihin natin, meron siyang napulot na clutch bag. Ang nilalaman ng clutch bag ay cellphone, cash worth 30,000 pesos, mga ATM, at saka mga ID, no? Then yung isang mamahaling na Oakley na shades, yun. So, natagpuan niya. Tagpuan niya. That property is considered as lost property kasi hindi mo naman alam kung sino may-ari. Meron man ID, hindi mo naman kilala kung sino si Juan de la Cruz. Okay, so may ID nga, hindi mo naman kilala sino ba si Juan de la Cruz. Okay, so ang ginawa mo, kinuha mo yung property. Alam mo, yun ay nawawalang property, kinuha mo. But you failed to deliver the same to the local authorities or its owner. Usually class kasi noon, dapat yung property daw na iyon na natagpuan mo na hindi mo alam kung sino may-ari, dapat usually class is iso-surrender mo sa mayor, no? Pero ngayong mga panahon ngayon, hindi na, no? Usually, iso-surrender mo yan sa radio station, yan, bombo radyo, yung iba pa nga, sinusurrender sa guard, no? So, ganun lang ginagawa nila eh. Usually, sa dati, ang nakalagay sa ating batas, dapat iso-surrender daw kay mayor. Pero ngayong makabagong panahon na usually sa kanila lang yan eh, sa Facebook o kaya sa bombo radyo, sa radio station, no? So pag hindi mo plus binalik yung lost property, no, you are liable for theft, no? Kaya ano bang nito? Ano ba ang significance nito? Kasi tayo class, once na may natagpuan kasi tayo mga lost property, dapat ang unang pumasok sa isip natin ay ibalik agad o kaya hanapin yung may-ari ng property, no? So kaya minsan sa pelikula pag napunta lang sa iyo yung isang property tapos makita, oh, pag ko yan ikaw nagnakaw, siyempre meron ng presumption na ikaw yung nagnakaw, no? Kaya dapat class, as early as possible, ibalik agad yung katagpuang property. So, take note class that the retention of money property found is theft. The retention is failure to return because it tantamounts to intent to gain. So, the word loss is used in the generic sense. It embraces loss by stealing, nanakaw, or any act of a person other than the owner, as well as the act of the owner, or through some casual occurrence. The felony is not limited only to the actual finder. Theft of a lost property may be committed even by a person who is not the actual finder. So knowledge of owner is not required. Knowledge of loss is enough. So hindi mahalaga kung kilala mo yung may-ari ng bag o kaya yung property na nawala, no? Ang importante na alam mo na nawawala yung property. It is not necessary that the owner of the lost property be known to the accused. What is important is that he knows or has reason to know that the property was lost, and for this fact alone, it is his duty. Okay, ulitin ko ha. It is his duty to turn it over to the authorities. Okay, yan yung sinasabi natin kanina. If he does otherwise, like if he sells the thing to another, then the crime of theft is consummated. Okay. Okay, so mas malala pa pala ito, no? Yung natagpuan niyang property na alam niyang nawawala, eh binenta niya. Eh, mas matindi pa pala ito. So the finder in this instance class is liable. Okay? Yung finder yung nakahanap doon sa nawawalang property. So usually pag yung sa ating mga taxi driver, yung ating mga tricycle driver, no, once na may naiwan yung pasahero doon sa sasakyan nila, usually imbis na i-surrender minsan, o pinapakinabangan na lang, no. But if the driver is honest, usually okay, surrender niya sa police, no. Siyempre, babangon naman yung pangalan mo kasi may Facebook ka, okay? Mapipicturean ka. So ano naman ang ating ruling sa hidden treasure? Okay. So under Article 438 and 439 of the Civil Code, the finder of a hidden treasure on the property of another and by chance is entitled to 1/2 of the treasure that he found. His duty is to inform the owner about the treasure. But if he appropriates the other half pertaining to the owner, the owner of the property, he is liable for theft as to that share. Okay, for example, yung mga karpentero may hinuhukay, okay. Naghuhukay ng pundasyon. Then habang naghuhukay, meron silang nahukay na kayamanan. Okay. So, doon sa lupa na yon, no, hindi naman pagmamay-ari ng mga karpentero. So, ang ating ruling dyan class, ang share ng mga karpenterong nakapaghukay nung kayamanan, 1/2. Yung other half is mapupunta doon sa may-ari ng lupa. Okay. Pero, pag kinuha nila lahat yun at hindi nila in-inform yung may-ari ng lupa o yung lupang pinagtatrabahuan nila, no, hindi nila in-inform na meron kaming natagpuang kayamanan, no, they will be liable for theft. Okay? Kasi nga sabi sa ating ruling under People versus Longju na dapat yung mga nakakita, yung mga nakahukay ng hidden treasure ay dapat i-inform. Meron silang duty to inform the owner about the treasure. Okay. Number 3, under pa rin tayo class ng theft. Ha? Those who, after having maliciously damaged the property of another, or letter B, remove or make use of the fruits or object of the damage caused by them. Theft of damaged property occurs only after the accused has committed the crime of malicious mischief. So another crime only class ang malicious mischief, ha? In malicious mischief, the offender destroys the property of another because of hatred, resentment, or other evil motive against the owner. So, a neighbor who shoots and kills a goat which has destroyed his flower plants and thereafter slaughters and eats the meat of the wandering goat is guilty of theft. Okay, so number 4, those who enter an enclosed estate or a field where trespass is forbidden or which belongs to another and without the consent of its owner, hunts or fish upon the same, or gather fruits, cereals, or other forest or farm products. Okay, dun sa number 3 class, balikan natin, no? For example, di ba, meron naman kayong mga motor, no? Dun sa inyong motor, meron kayong mga tawag dito, yung mga side mirror, no? So, ang ginawa ni Pedro, sinira niya yung side mirror ninyo para makuha niya yung sinira niya yung side mirror para makuha niya. Okay, so nagkaroon ng damage yung, ano bang tawag dun sa manibela ninyo nung sinira niya yung side mirror. So, that is also theft. Letter B, number 4. Si Pedro pumasok sa isang enclosed, ibig sabihin may bakod yung property. Okay. For example, sa plantasyon ng mga niyog, plantasyon ng mga mangga, di ba, may bakod yan eh. Okay. Ang ginawa ni Pedro, pumasok siya. Nag-trespassing siya doon, no? He entered in that enclosed property. And that property belongs to another. Yung property belongs to Juan, no? At without the consent of Juan, pumasok si Pedro. Nag-over the bakod. Ang ginawa niya, he hunts or fish, ibig sabihin nangisda, o kaya naghunting siya ng mga manok, o kaya nag-gather siya ng fruits, kinuha niya, pinitas niya yung mga mangga, o kaya yung mga niyog, kaya cereal or other forest or farm products. Take note, class, that theft is consummated when offender is able to place the thing taken under his possession, no? So in such a situation, as he could dispose it at once, class. Sa example, class, mga grocery. Sabihin natin sa SM store. Okay, SM grocery, ano? So may shoplifter, no? May shoplifter. Kumuha siya ng gatas, nilagay nga dito sa kanyang damit, no? Okay na, sabihin natin sa kanyang bag na lang. Gatas, ayan, kumuha ng gatas, tsokolate, mga kape, yan, na marami siyang nilagay sa bag niya. Pero hindi pa siya nakakalabas ng grocery, no? Hindi pa siya nakakalabas ng grocery. Andun pa rin siya sa loob ng grocery. Hindi pa siya nakakalabas. Then, hindi niya alam na hindi niya namalayan na sinosurveillance na pala siya. No? Meron na palang sumusunod sa kanya na civilian guard. Ang tanong, what is the crime committed? Is it attempted? Is it frustrated? Or is it consummated? Ang sagot, class, dyan, no, kahit na hindi pa nakakalabas yung suspect natin, ang sagot dyan, class, is theft is consummated. No? Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na control test. Okay. So, class, remember ha, wala tayong frustrated theft. No? Once na kinuha mo yan, once you have the intent of gaining that object, ano? Once na nakuha mo at nasa iyong possession na yan, that is already consummated. Okay? At tandaan ninyo yan, class. So ano ba itong qualified theft under Article 310? Qualified theft is committed by domestic servant. Okay, domestic servant. Ano ba ang domestic servants? Yung mga kasambahay natin, no? Hindi naman sa kasambahay, basta yung mga naninirahan sa atin, nagsisilbihan sa atin. Okay? Number 2, with grave abuse of confidence. Ibig sabihin, class, ibinigay natin ang tiwala natin doon sa tao, no? Mga katiwala. So, ang tawag dito, mga caretaker. Okay, so pag mga caretaker, syempre tayo magtitiwala tayo sa kanila na aalagaan nila, na hindi sila gagawa ng mga kalokohan o kasamahan. Number 3, property stolen is motor vehicle, mail matter, large cattle, coconut, fish pond, or fishery. Or, paano pa mako-consider na qualified theft? On the occasion of calamities and civil disturbance. Okay, so balik tayo sa number 3. Pag ang ninakaw mo, class, ay motor vehicle, usually qualified theft yan. Pero meron na kasi tayong carnapping, no? Meron na tayong batas laban sa carnapping. So hindi na qualified theft ang pagnanakaw ng sakyan. That is already called carnapping. Okay, pag nagnakaw ka ng mail matter, yan yung mga sulat. Okay? Okay. So, yung sa large cattle, meron tayong tinatawag na anti-cattle rustling law. Okay, so yun naman kapag nagnakaw ka ng mga kalabaw, baka, mga kabayo, no? Hindi na sa qualified theft ngayon. They are already called the crime is already called large anti-cattle rustling law. Okay, so uh, you entered a fenced property, then nag-gather ka ng mga niyog, no? Qualified theft. Fish from the fish pond or fishery, no? Namingwit ka doon sa isang fish pond, no? That is qualified theft. O kaya itong number 4 class usually, pag mayroong mga road accidents, for example, isang bus, no? Bumabiyahe, puno ng pasahero, then that bus met an accident along the way, no? So meron siyang yung mga pasaheros niya, yung iba tumilapon, yung iba nahulog dun sa bus. Okay, so maraming mga bystander ang nakakita. Ngayon, ano ba ang expected kasi sa atin, no? Sa ating mga bystander na nakakita ng ganyang mga pangyayari o kaya aksidente sa daan, usually dapat ang gagawin natin is tutulungan sila at hindi pagnanakawan, 'di ba? Siyempre, namatayan na nga yung tao, sugatan na nga yung tao, eh kukunin mo pa yung mga property niya, yung mga ari-arian niya, which is wrong. Okay, take note class, when the theft is committed by a domestic servant, the offended party must either be the employer, where the offender is working as a household helper, or a third person, no, sa mga kasambahay natin. O kaya, room boy sa isang hotel is they are considered as a domestic servant. Okay, yung kasambahay natin, yung mga empleyado mo, mga sales lady mo, yung mga sales clerk mo, no? Siyempre may tiwala ka sa kanila na hindi kanila pagnanakawan, hindi kanila tawag dito, hindi kanila lolokohin. So once na nag-commit sila, they abuse the confidence you repose upon them. Ano ba itong grave abuse? Ito yung high degree of confidence, no? So for example, sa isang hotel, no? Sa isang hotel, ikaw siyempre na isang kliyente ng hotel, eh, may tiwala ka na hindi ka okay, may tiwala ka na safe ka dun sa hotel. May tiwala ka na hindi ka pagnanakawan. Okay? Eh, because the trust or the confidence that you repose on that hotel, eh, nanakawan ka pa rin at yung mga nagnakaw, empleyado pa ng hotel, then that is qualified theft. Okay, so ano ba itong estafa? Estafa is also called as swindling. Okay. Estafa is the embezzlement, no, under common law. Pagwawaldas. It is a well-known crime to lawyers and businessmen. So it is a continuing crime, unlike theft. Being a public crime, it can be prosecuted de officio. So what are the elements of estafa? Number one, that the accused defrauded another by abuse of confidence or by means of deceit. Okay, ano ba itong abuse of confidence or by means of deceit? Okay, for example, minsan kasi marami sa atin ang namimili na sa through online, no? Sa Shopee, Lazada, mga ganyan, no? So, yung mga pinapakita doon class sa Shopee o Lazada, yung nakikita natin doon sa ating mga cellphone, no, magandang itsura niya. Makinis, makintab, mga ganyan. Pero, nung in-order na natin, nung dumating sa atin, no, eh, hindi pala ganun kakinis, hindi pala ganun kakintab, hindi pala ganun kaganda, ano? Then, ibig sabihin, no, tayo ay niloko. There is deceit, no? There is deceit on the part of the seller, no? Kasi nga, may kumpiyansa tayo, no? Kasi nakita natin, oh, puro 5-star rating, no? May kumpiyansa tayo na hindi tayo lolokohin ng seller. So, nag-order ka, for example, ng isang pabango. Sabi doon sa advertisement ng pabango na it will attract more women o mga ganyan, ano? At sobrang bango daw. Pero nung dumating sa'yo, nung sinubukan mong in-spray sa katawan mo, eh wala namang amoy, no? Eh, tubig pala ang laman niya. Then there is deceit, no? There is may panloloko na doon, no? Yan ang isang uri kung paano ba nako-commit ang estafa. Number two, The damage or prejudice capable of pecuniary estimation is caused to the offended party or third person. Siyempre, you were damaged kasi nga, nagtiwala ka, then sabihin natin yung pabango na yun is worth 3,000, no? Kasi branded, sabihin natin Levi's, kung Levi's yung pangalan ng pabango, no? So, malaki-laki na rin yun yung nawala sa'yo, yung 3,000, no? So, there is prejudice, no? There is damage which is capable of pecuniary estimation. Ibig sabihin, no? Alam mo kung magkano yung nawala sa'yo. Okay? Letter B, elements of estafa with unfaithfulness. Okay. Number 1, that the offender has an onerous obligation to deliver something of value. Number 2, that he alter its substance, quantity, or quality. Number 3, that damage or prejudice is caused to another. For example ng umorder ka, no? Umorder ka hindi na online, face to face, no? So, bumili ka ng singsing, no? Kasi akala mo diamante yung nandoon sa singsing. So, sabihin natin worth 20,000 yung singsing na may diamante. Okay. Ngayon, yung nagbenta, binago niya, no? Binago niya yung he altered the substance. He altered the quantity or quality. Okay, so binago niya. Imbis na diamante yung nakalagay sa singsing, ang nilagay niya, puwit ng baso. Okay. So, ayan, nagkabayaran na 20,000, binigay niya, kinuha na yung singsing, no? There is damage again or prejudice na which is cost to another. Siyempre, 20,000,000 nawala, ano? Kasi ang alam nung buyer is totoong diamante yon, hindi niya alam na ito pala ay puwit ng baso. Estafa is committed. Letter C, elements of estafa with abuse of confidence under subdivision number 1, paragraph B of Article 315, that money, goods, or other personal property be received by the offender in trust or on commission or for administration or under any other obligation involving the duty to make delivery of or to return the same. Okay, so ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, class, na may pinahiram sa'yo, meron kang hiniram at hindi mo na binalik. Okay? Hindi mo na binalik. O kaya kung binalik mo man, kinonvert mo na into cash. O kaya pinahiram sa'yo pero yung hiniram mo, ibinenta mo sa iba. Okay, number 2, that there be misappropriation or conversion of such money or property by the offender or dental on his part of such receipt. Ibig sabihin kasi ito, may hiniram kang pera. O kaya ikaw ay private person, sabi, ito yung pera, gamitin mo pambayad sa mga sahod ng mga empleyado. Hindi mo pinangbayad, hindi mo ibinigay doon o kaya hindi mo dinistribute doon sa mga workers, sa mga manggagawa, yung binigay na pera sa iyo. For example, 5 million, sabi, yan pasahod natin yan. Then pinagkatiwala sa iyo, sabi, bigay mo yan kasi katapusan na ngayon. Ikaw na pinagbigyan, hindi mo ibinigay. Estafa is committed. Kasi kinonvert mo You converted the money. Okay? Or you misappropriated the money. Number 3, such misappropriation or conversion or dental is to the prejudice of another and that there is a demand made by the offended party to the offender. Okay, so ang sabi rito, class, pag may demand, no? May demand yung tawag dito yung offended party. So ide-demand niya kung nasaan na yung nasaan na yung perang inilaan o yung perang ibinigay sa iyo, tatanungin kung naibigay mo ba o hindi. Hindi yun magfo-full class as theft, no? Kasi nga ipinagkatiwala sa iyo yung pera. Okay, so minsan kasi sasabihin hinold up ako, yung mga ganyan, hinold up ako o kaya inipit ako at tinutukan ako, mga ganyan, no, usually. So, doon minsan nangyayari ito. So, what is the second element of estafa with abuse of confidence under paragraph B? Number 1, by misappropriating the thing received. Okay, ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, na yung perang sinabi na ibibigay mo sa empleyado, hindi mo binigay. You misappropriated the property. O kaya, you converted the thing received. Kinonvert mo sa iba. For example, yung isang sasakyan, sabi, o gawin natin kanyan, gawin nating barangay vehicle, o gawin natin yung sakyan ng kumpanya. Okay, isang kotse. So, that is a company car, sabi, gawin natin company car. Pero ikaw, ang ginawa mo, ginawa mong Grab, no? Ginawa mo siyang Grab taxi. You converted the thing in a purpose not intended. Number 3, by denying that the thing was received. Usually kasi mga ganyan eh. Hindi ko naman nakuha yung property, hindi ko naman napakinabangan. So, you are denying that you received the thing. Okay. So, take note. So, unfaithfulness or abuse of confidence by altering the substance. Binago mo yung substance. At meron kang existing obligation o meron kang obligasyon na ibigay o kaya i-deliver ang isang bagay. Okay, even if it is not a subject of lawful commerce. Letter C, the thing delivered has not been fully or partially paid. And that's not estafa pag hindi pa siya na i-deliver. Okay? O kaya hindi pa siya bayad. Letter C, no agreement as to quality. Then there is no estafa if a delivery is not perfected. Okay. So ngayon class, punta na tayo sa arson, no? Arson and other crimes involving destructions. So take note class that PD 1613 expressly repealed or amended Article 320 to 326. But however, PD 1744 revived Article 320. So what are the elements of arsons or crimes involving destructions? Number 1, that an uninhabited hut, storehouse, barn, shed, or any other property is burned. Number 2, that the value of property burned does not exceed 25 pesos. So, nung unang panahon kasi class, no, 25 pesos, mahal na, no? Marami nang mabibili ang 25 pesos noon. That the burning was done at a time or under circumstances which clearly exclude all danger of the fire spreading. Letter B, elements of crime involving destruction. Remember class, yung letter A, that is just small value, property of small values. Letter B, elements of crime involving destruction. Number 1, that the offender causes destruction of the property. Number 2, that the destruction was done by means of explosion. Okay, pagsabog. Letter B, discharge of electric current. Ibig sabihin is either tinanggal mo or dinisconnect mo yung kuryenteng nakakabit. Letter C, nilunod mo. For example, yung sakyan, no, hinulog ninyo sa dagat. Sinking or stranding of a vessel. For example, yung bangka o kaya maliit na barko, gumawa kayo ng butas sa ilalim sa kanyang hull para ito ay lumubog. Letter E, damaging the engine of the vessel. Ibig sabihin, either tinanggal ninyo yung tornilyo ng langis o kaya dinisconnect nyo yung mga wirings ng makina for the engine to be damaged. O kaya taking up rails from the railway track. Di ba yung relays, di ba? Relays. Pag tinanggal mo yung mga bakal, yung relays, no? Siyempre, pag dumaan yung train dyan, wala nang dadaan yung train. Kaya may tendency na yung train will tawag rito, will meet an accident. Letter G, destroying telegraph wires and posts or those of any other system. Ibig sabihin, may mga telegrama. Kasi usong-uso pa mga telegrama kasi ng mga telegraph wires, di ba? Letter H, other similar effective means of destruction. Okay, kung yung mga ibang uri, ibang klase ng paninira, that is will fall under arson also. So ano ba yung elements of burning one's property as a means to commit arson? First, that the offender set fire to or destroyed his own property. Okay. So, pag sinabing set fire, ayan, no? So, sinindihan mo, pinuhusan mo ng gasolina, sisindihan mo, or nasindihan mo na. Number two, that the purpose of the offender in doing so was to commit arson or to cause a great destruction. Siyempre, kung purpose lang naman nung tao is magsisindi lang ng o kaya sisindihan lang niya yung basura o kaya ah, magsisindi lang ng pang-barbecuehan niya, hindi naman siguro considered as arson yon. Number three, that the property belonging to another was burned or destroyed. Letter D, elements of arson. Number one, that the property burned is the exclusive property of the offender. Okay, so usually dapat pag sa arson na mayroong involvement talaga ang panununog. Okay, so kahit na sinunog mo class yung bahay mo para madamay yung ibang property, no, that is considered as arson. Okay, so usually class nangyayari yung mga ganyan sa yung mga bahay made of light materials, lalong-lalo sa Maynila, di ba, yung mga magkakatabi yung mga bahay doon, no? So meron yung iba, sasabihin, merong adik, no? May adik na nagsunog ng kanyang bahay at nadamay na lang yung mga kanyang kapitbahay. So yung adik, pwede siyang makasuhan class ng arson. So arson is defined as the intentional. Okay, dapat may intention class ha. Intentional or malicious destruction of a property by fire. Kasi nga, dapat meron kang criminal intent. No? For example, dun sa magkakatabing magkakabarangay na gawa sa kubo yung bahay nila, yung compound nila, merong senior citizen doon na kandila lang yung ginagamit. No? Nakatulugan niya, naubos yung kandila, nasunog yung kubo niya at nadama yung ibang bahay. So that is not intentional naman. Okay? That is not intentional and there is no criminal intent on the part of the senior citizen na masunog yung mga katabing bahay. Okay. So what is the legal effect if death results from arson? Paano pag nagresulta sa kamatayan o kaya may namatay dahil dun sa arson? The crime committed is still arson. Okay, for example, sa isang bahay, no, sa isang barangay, may adik, sinunog niya yung bahay niya. Adik ganun eh, di ba? Hindi niya alam ginagawa niya. Okay, so sinunog niya yung bahay niya, nadamay yung katabing bahay niya. Unknown to the addict, meron palang mga natutulog, may mga senior citizen at may mga bata palang natutulog doon. Hindi nakalabas yung mga tao, namatay sila dahil dun sa sunog. The crime of arson is committed, ha? Kasi nga bakit? Bakit arson lang hindi with homicide? Kasi nga look at into the intention of the arsonist, di ba? Ano ba yung intention ng arsonista? Kasi addict na sinunog lang yung bahay, siguro trip niya dahil lang sa droga, okay? So arson is committed. Death is absorbed in the crime of arson, no? Yung homicide, yung death, yung pagkamatay ng senior citizen at ng bata doon sa insidente na yon ay absorbed doon sa crime ng arson, okay? But the penalty to be imposed ranges from reclusion perpetua to death. But remember class, reclusion, wala na tayong death penalty. So the penalty to be imposed na lang here is reclusion perpetua. So how arson is established? Arson is established by proving the corpus delicti. Okay. Usually in the form of circumstantial evidence, such as the criminal agency, meaning the substance used. For example, nakita doon sa vicinity na mayroong mga galong-galong gasolina, no, na nakatambak doon o kaya nakabukbok, no, gas, kerosene, or other form of combustible materials which cause the fire. Pwede rin namang class na electrical wires, yung sinasabi nila na overloaded, no? Overloaded yung linya ng kuryente. Okay. So, let's go now class to malicious mischief. Ito class yung kanina, yung malicious mischief, it is intentional damaging or destroying another's property, no? Okay, so ngayon tingnan muna natin, ano ba ang elements nito malicious mischief? Number 1, the offender deliberately caused damage to the property of another. Class, dapat usually personal property, ha? That such act does not constitute arson or other crimes involving destruction. Number 3, that the act damaging another's property be committed merely for the sake of damaging it. Take note, class, that malicious mischief is the willful damaging of another's property for the sake of causing damage due to hatred, revenge, or evil motive. Okay, for example, dahil na visit ka dun sa tao, no? Dahil visit ka, o kaya gusto mong makabawi, o kaya you have other evil motives, no? Ginasgasan mo yung kotse niya, ah, ginawa mong flat tire yung gulong, binasag mo yung bintana dahil for example, galit ka o kaya pinahiya ka, binasag mo yung salamin, binasag mo yung headlight ng sakyan, no? Pero hindi mo naman sinunog. The crime of malicious mischief is committed. Okay? Kasi nga, you cause damage to the said property. Again, class, take note that there must be no negligence. There must be no negligence on the part of the offender. Example, the cow, yung kalabaw, yung kalabaw, okay, yung baka ni Juan nakawala, no? Napunta doon sa taniman ng mga taniman ni Pedro. So, yung baka o yung kalabaw pinagkakakain yung mga pinagkakakain yung mga tanim. Yung sili, for example, yung mga munggo, okay? Kinain nung alagang baka o yung kalabaw, no? Then binaril mo, no? Binaril mo yung baka o yung kalabaw dahil nga sa ginawa niya. Then that is malicious mischief. Okay? If there is no malice, no? Wala namang malisya o kaya hindi mo naman sinasadya na napatay mo yung kalabaw o kaya sabihin natin na inakala mo na baboy ramo yung gumagalaw doon, kalabaw pala ni Pedro, nabaril mo. No, there is no malice. Then there is no crime committed. It is only civil liability. Okay, so ano ba yung meaning of damage in malicious mischief? It means not only loss, but a diminution of the value of one's property. No? So, ibig sabihin, alam niyo ba class yung coaching Mercedes, di ba? Coaching Mercedes, dun sa nguso niya, meron yung nakakabit dun sa harapan, di ba? May nakakabit doon, yung bilog, no? So, dahil sabihin natin, inggit ka, no? Inggit ka, may Mercedes yung kapitbahay ninyo, pinutol mo ah, yung nakakabit doon, no? So, ang sabi rito, ah, it means it is not the loss, no? Hindi naman importante kung nawala yung nakakabit doon sa nguso ng Mercedes, no? But there is a diminution of the value of one's property, no? Siyempre, ikaw ba naman bibili ka ng Mercedes, no? Yun nga yung trademark class eh. Yung may pagkakakilanlan mo sa Mercedes, yung meron siyang nakapatong doon sa hood niya na bilog, tapos meron parang triangle na ganun, di ba? So, this includes defacing, deforming, or rendering it useless for the purpose for which it was made. Okay, so, but after damaging the thing, no? Na-damage mo, sinira mo, 'di ba? Sinira mo. O sige, sabihin natin yung side mirror, no? Yung side mirror for example ng Mercedes, kinuha mo, tinanggal mo. Siyempre nasira yung salamin niya, no? Ngayon, dahil sa hatred, dahil visit ka doon sa taong 'yon, no? Tinanggal mo yung salamin ng kotse niya, yung kotseng Mercedes. Tinanggal mo, wala lang. Okay, so that is malicious mischief. But if you use that if you sell that mirror, no? Tinanggal mo, binenta mo, ginamit mo. Hindi na malicious mischief yung class. It is already theft. Okay? There is destruction of the property of another, but there is no misappropriation. Otherwise, it would be theft if he gathers the effects of the destruction. Okay? So, pag sinira mo, you have the intent to destroy it because of hate, revenge, or other evil motive that is malicious mischief. If you destroy the property, you deface, you detach, no, you detach something, and you use or sold that property or that object, it is already theft. Okay. Damage is not incident of a crime, breaking windows, o kaya, for example, ikaw, akyat bahay ka, no? Binasag mo yung bintana, no? Mga nayupak na mga akyat bahay yan. Binasag mo yung window mo. Binasag nila yung window mo para masungkit yung lock. Nabuksan nila yung bintana mo, nakapasok sila. Nakuha nila class yung pera mo. What is the crime committed? Robbery and malicious mischief? No, the crime of robbery is only committed because the malicious mischief there, destruction or the breaking of the windows, or the damage done is already absorbed in the crime of robbery. Okay? All right. I hope nagigets ninyo. Okay, so let's proceed to Article 333 or adultery. So, what are the elements of adultery? Number one, that the woman is married. Okay, so dapat plus yung babae ay kasal. So, even if marriage subsequently declared void. Number two, that she has sexual intercourse with a man, not her husband. Number three, that as regards the man with whom she has sexual intercourse, he must know her to be married. Dapat plus yung lalaki, alam niya na married yung babae. Take note, class, that there are two reasons why adultery is made punishable by law. Primarily, it is a violation of the marital vow. And secondarily, it paves the way to the introduction of a spurious child into the family. So, adultery is a crime not only of the married woman, but also of the man who had intercourse with a married woman, knowing her to be married. Okay, so class, if the married woman, had a sexual intercourse with a man, not his husband, then that woman is liable for adultery. Likewise, doon din sa lalaki naka-sexual intercourse niya, he is also liable for adultery. Okay, so yung dalawang yon, uh, yung dalawang partido na yon, they are liable, they are both liable for adultery. So this is the illustration class. So si Madam X is a married woman residing in Pasay City. Okay, si Madam X. He met a man, si Y, sa Rojas Boulevard. So they agreed to go to Baguio City. Okay, maybe as a friend, no, pumunta sila ng Baguio. Supposedly to come back the next day. So kinabukasan dapat nakauwi na. When they were in Bulacan, they stayed in a motel. Okay, so hindi pa sila nakakaabot ng Baguio. So siguro mahaba yung o kaya gabi na sila bumiyahe, pagod sila, nagstay sila sa isang motel sa Bulacan. Alam niyo ba class ang history ng motel sa hotel? Kasi baka ang pagkakaalam niyo sa motel baka iba ang nasa isip niyo pag sinabing motel. Okay. Nung panahon kasi class, kung alam niyo yung mga hotel natin ngayon, di ba? Yung hotel natin ngayon class, mga ilang palapag yan, di ba? Mga ilang palapag yan, mga 10 story, 12, no? So matataas yung mga hotel. Yung mga parking nila sa ilalim, no? Sa ilalim ng mga building, no? Underground parking. So, siyempre, ikaw yung pagod, darating ka, pupunta ka sa may front desk, kukuha ka ng susi, tapos aakyat ka pa doon sa taas, kung sa taas ang kwarto mo. Itong motel class, itatawag natin class na motor hotel, no? Motor hotel. I'm not very sure, pero motor hotel ang tawag dyan, no? Parang dinaglat lang na motor hotel, motel. So itong motel na ito class, hindi ito high-rise building. Hindi ito high-rise building. Ito ay parang bungalow style na hotel. Bungalow style establishment siya, no? Where you can park your car in front of your room, no? Siyempre, pagkababa mo, lakad ka lang ng konti, andun ka na sa kwarto mo, no? Hindi ka mapapagod masyado. So, motel is otherwise known as motor hotel. Okay? So, alam niyo na. So, wag ibang papasok sa isip niyo pag narinig niyo ang motel, ha? Baka ang nasa isip ninyo, bahay aliwan o kuwan, ha? Bahay ng kalasuan. Anyway, so doon nagstay sila sa isang motel sa Bulacan and they had sexual intercourse. After that, no, they proceeded again and stopped at Dagupan City. Oh my God, no, they are already out of way, no? Masyado ng malayo kung Baguio sila tapos dadampat ng Dagupan. Baka siguro may dinaanang daing siguro, no? So kaya bangus. So nag-stay pa sila ng Dagupan, no? Doon sa Dagupan, kumuha sila ng motel. Then they had another sexual intercourse. So, ngayon, sabi rito class, there are two counts of adultery committed in this instance, no? One adultery sa Bulacan and one adultery in Dagupan City. Even if it involved the same man, no? Kahit na isang tao lang, isang lalaki lang yung involved doon, each intercourse is a separate crime of adultery. Okay? I hope class malinaw sa inyo yon. Okay, so let's go back to our lecture, article 334, which is concubinage. So what are the elements of concubinage? First, that demand marriage. So kanina class yung adultery, yung babae, no, yung woman ang akusado. Dito naman class sa concubinage, yung lalaki naman. So that the man must be married. Number two, that he committed any of the following acts. Okay, dapat yung lalaki, makukumit niya any of the following. Unang-una, keeping a mistress in the conjugal dwelling. Ibig sabihin kasi ng conjugal dwelling, ito yung in-establish na residence o bahay ng mag-asawa. Okay. So letter B, the man having sexual intercourse under scandalous circumstances with a woman who is not his wife. Okay, so si lalaki, kikipag-talik sa ibang babae na hindi naman niya asawa. Letter C, cohabiting with her in any other place. So, ibig sabihin, sa ibinabahay niya yung babae. Number 3, that as regards the woman, she must know him to be married. Yung babae, alam niya na married yung kinakasama niyang lalaki. Note class that scandal consists in any reprehensible word, deed that offends public conscience, redounds to the detriment of the feelings of honest persons, and gives occasions to the neighbors to spiritual damage and ruin. Okay, for example, sa isang compound o sa isang barangay, no? So, si Pedro, kilala siya, si Pedro na married kay Maria. Okay, so kilala, nakikita nila na magkasama sila, hinahatid ni Pedro si Maria, o nakatira sila doon, alam ng mga kapitbahay, alam ng mga residente ng barangay na yon. So, nagpapasok lamang class yung scandalous circumstances, kapag si Pedro ay nagdala ng ibang babae na hindi naman niya asawa. No, siyempre, makikita ng mga kapitbahay, oh, may iba nang binabahay si Pedro. No, meron na siyang kinakasamang iba doon sa bahay. Asan na kaya si Maria? Asan na kaya yung asawa? So, that is scandalous circumstance, ano? Kasi nga sabi rito class, it offends public conscience, no? It offends public conscience and redounds to the detriment of the feelings of honest person, no? Okay, so yung class yung ibig sabihin ng letter B na under scandalous circumstances with a woman who is not his wife. Class, with respect to concubinage, the same principle applies. Okay, only the offended spouse can file a case against the other spouse, no? Yung offended spouse lang, ha, yung offended party lang ang pwedeng mag-file ng kaso laban doon sa asawa niya. This is a crime committed by the married man, the husband. Okay, tandaan ko sa concubinage, it is a crime committed by the married man, which is the husband. Okay, so Article 349 refers to bigamy. Pag sinabi natin bigamy, no, let's take a look at its element. The offender has been legally married. Okay, so the offender is married, no? Valid marriage, may valid marriage. Number two, that the marriage has not been legally dissolved, no? Ibig sabihin, kasal pa rin siya. O kaya, doon or in case his or her spouse is absent, the absent spouse could not yet be presumed dead according to the civil code. Okay, so dapat kasi class bago kahit kasal ka, pag gusto mong uling magpakasal sa iba, pero yung dati mong asawa ay sabihin natin matagal nang nawawala, no? Matagal nang nawawala. Kailangan class mag-ideklara mo muna na ang dati mong asawa ay patay na bago ka magpakasal uli sa iba. Number three, that he contracts a second or subsequent marriage. Okay, yung isang tao, si Pedro for example, ay kasal kay Maria, no? Then si Pedro ay nagpakasal ulit sa ibang babae, no? Yun yung sasabi natin na he contracts a second or subsequent marriage. For that the second or subsequent marriage has all the essential requisites for the validity. Yung pangalawang kasal class ay valid din. Okay. Eto class, take note, the crime does not fall within the category of private crimes that can be prosecuted only at the instance of the offended party because bigamy is a public crime. For the crime of bigamy to prosper, the first marriage must be valid. If the first marriage is void, no, pag hindi naman pala valid yung unang kasal, no, such nullity to the marriage is not a defense in a charge of bigamy. Consequently, when raised as a defense, no, pag ni-raise sa trial, sa hearing na null and void pala yung unang kasal, the accused should be convicted since until and unless annulled. So the bond of matrimony remains or maintained. Plus, yung unang kasal, kailangan yan ng judicial declaration of nullity. Yan yung sasabi natin na annulment. The second marriage must have all the essential requisites for validity. So dapat class yung unang yung pangalawang kasal, no, for the offender to be guilty of bigamy, dapat yung pangalawang kasal class dapat ay valid din. Okay? So that is bigamy. Okay, so let's go to crime against honor, yung libel. So usong-uso to class, no, yung libel. Ito yung mga madalas na kinakaso. Sabi nga nila, libel po yan lang, mga mayayaman lang daw yung mga nagkakaso niyan, no? Libel usually, yan yung mga fina-file sa mga tao na may nasasabing hindi maganda laban doon sa isang tao, ano? So tignan natin, ano ba ang elemento nitong libel? So number one, that there must be an imputation, no? Imputation of a crime or a vice or defect, totoo man yan o imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstances. Number two, that the imputation must be made publicly. Tandaan nyo ha, publicly. Number three, that the imputation is malicious. Number four, that the imputation must be directed at a natural or a juridical person, no? O kaya kahit sa patay, ano? Pwede applicable din ito sa patay. Number five, that the imputation must tend to cause the dishonor or the discredit of the person defamed. Okay, so mamaya i-discuss natin. Bakit sa patay no? Applicable pa. Okay, mamaya tingnan natin. Pag sinabi kasi nating libel class, no? Ito yung libel, yung nabibigkas mo yung nasasabi mo, no? Nakapagsabit ka, lalo-lalo na pag sa media, di ba? Sabihin mo si Pedro, isa yang magnanakaw, isa yang killer, no? Mamamatay tao yan, yung mga ganyan, no? Kaya sabi rito, totoo man o hindi, sabi di ba? Totoo man o hindi, kaya sabi diyan real or imaginary, no? as long as you have imputed o kaya nasabi mo yan, no? Imputation of a crime o kaya yung vice, for example, babaero yan si Pedro. Sabi mo, sugarol yan sa Pangero, no? Kaya sabi crime or of a vice, no? Or defect, no? Ibig sabihin, kanya, no? May sinto-sinto yan, mga ganyan. Totoo man o hindi, no? Totoo man na sabongero siya, totoo man na babaero, o kaya hindi man totoo, no? Pwede siyang maging liable under libel, no? Then the imputation class is made publicly. Ibig sabihin, na-publicize, no? Nalaman ng buong tao, narinig ng buong tao, no? For example, sa barangay, no? Daming nakadinig. For example, sa isang piyesta, no? Sa piyesta, ipinahiya mo si ganyan, ipinahiya mo sa ganito, no? Narinig yan ng public. Hindi naman importante na nakarating sa Mindanao yung imputation mo. Plus, it must be malicious. It must be malicious. Malisyoso yung dating niya. So, libel yun. Then, the imputation clause must be directed to a person, tao. Pag sinabing juridical person sa mga korporasyon, yan, they are the juridical person, yung mga korporasyon. Sabi pa rito, sa dead, no, patay daw, no, ibig sabihin, okay, pag yung tao namatay na, sasabihin mo, yan, si Pedro, no, si Pedro, nung nabubuhay pa yan, ako, ang daming bisyo yan, no, babaero, sugarol, mga sabungero, durugista, mga ganyan, no? You are blackening the memory of the dead. No, that is libel. Kaya nga, pasok siya sa libel. Then, the imputation must tend to cause dishonor. So, ikaw na sinabihan o pinahiya, it caused you dishonor, discredit, or you were defamed. Okay, so that is libel. So yung cyber libel, ibang kaso naman yung class, no? I hope sa subject ninyo na cybercrime, na-discuss ninyo ang cyber libel. Take note, class, that libel is a public and malicious imputation of a crime or vice or defect, real or imaginary, or any act, commission, condition, status, or circumstances tending to cause the dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural person, juridical person, or to blacken the memory of one who is dead. Okay. So that is libel. So if ever you memorize niyo yan, ha? Okay. So illustration. As regards the statements made by congressmen while they are deliberating or discussing in Congress, when the privileged character is qualified, proof of malice in fact will be admitted to take the place of malice in law. When the defamatory statement or utterance is qualified, privilege, the malice in law is negated. The utterance or statement would not be actionable because malice in law does not exist. Therefore, for the complainant to prosecute the accused for libel, oral defamation, or slander, he has to prove that the accused was actuated with malice in making the statement. Malice is presumed to exist in injurious publication. So, that is libel. Okay, so punta naman tayo sa oral defamation or slander. There are two kinds of oral defamation. Unang-una yung grave slander and simple slander. Grave slander, these are action of a serious and insulting nature. While the simple slander, these are light insult or defamation, not serious in nature. So factors that determine gravity of the offense. First, expression used, personal, relations of the accused, and the offended party. Circumstances surrounding the case. So, itong oral defamation, slander, so ito naman class yung binibigkas. Sa libel, ito yung mga na isusulat. Okay? So, itong slander by deed naman, Article 359, that the offender performs any act not included in other crime against honor. Number 2, that such act is performed in the presence of other person or persons. and that such acts cast dishonor, discredit, or contempt upon the offended party. Okay, ito yung klaseng pamamahiya with actions. For example, no, hinampas mo yung puwet ni Maria, for example, na hindi mo naman, wala ka namang malicious intent na hawakan o paluin. Ang intention mo lamang ay pahiyain siya. Okay, so slander by deed is a defamation committed by the offender against the complainant through the performance of any act which casts dishonor, discredit, or contempt upon another person. So slander by deed refers to performance of an act, not use of words. So tandaan nyo pa sa performance of an act and not use of words. So there are two kinds of slander by deed. Number one, simple slander by deed, and grave slander by deed. That is, which is of a serious nature. Okay. So that's it, class. That's the end of our part 3 lecture. So there you go. We have covered all the salient points, the important points of Criminal Law Book 2. And I hope you learned something from our previous lectures, from the previous reports, and with my final lecture today. So I hope that you're going to share, you're going to inform other students regarding this video lecture, no? So that they will also gain knowledge, no? Free. This lecture is free, no? Wala ka nang babayaran, no? Meron ka ng free knowledge, free lecture, no? So I hope you're going to continue sharing this video lecture to your friends, kahit saan man sila nakapag-enroll ng criminology course, no? Sa ibang schools. You can share this one, you can inform them, no? I will be uploading this one sa aking YouTube channel para marami pa siyang maabot. Okay? So that's it, class. Thank you, and good luck to your future endeavor. Thank you, and goodbye.